G'day everyone, welcome to another Toon Under podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's biggest and best podcast, all things Newcastle United. Tonight joined by Lee to talk about I was going to say comprehensive, but it wasn't quite that comprehensive, Lee. A 5-1
No.
victory over Sheffield United. Fortunately sees them relegated, which is never good. We might get to that later on. But how you going, mate?
Pretty good, mate. It's always nice to have a win, isn't it, on the weekend? Doesn't
It
ruin
does.
everything. Um,
No.
but I tell you what, I was sweating at half time. I was thinking, Jesus, this is not a good performance.
Yeah, I was the same. And we'll sort of dive into that. Let's just get into it now. Let's stop
Get amongst it.
fart assing around. So the team, we had two changes from the midweek team against Crystal Palace. Emil Kraft and Harvey Barnes dropped to the bench, and we actually brought in two fullbacks. So Tino Livramento and
Mm.
Lewis Hall took up their probably most favoured fullback positions. Dan Burns slid back into left centre back, which he's been performing well in since he moved there. I don't know about you, Lee, but I was quite happy to see fullbacks playing as fullbacks.
No, absolutely. I said that in the chat as well when I saw the actual round. What was it? Round pegs and round holes. I was like, oh, great. We've actually
Yeah,
got fullbacks in the right position here.
yeah.
I was actually really happy to see Gordon back on the left. I think the last game he was on the right, and it didn't with Barnes on the other side, and I
Mm,
don't know, it just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like it was working. So I was actually pretty happy to see him down the left. There is obviously a bit of a problem though with when it's set up like this with Hall and Gordon down the left. It was pretty obvious in the first half on the TV that there's there's not that understanding down the left hand side between those two. And there was plenty of times where Gordon was just like waving his arms in the air because he was expecting to get the ball back and it just wasn't happening. It was going inside or to the far end or whatever. And then other times, there might have been an overlap and it wasn't utilised. It was just cut inside again. And I felt that was it was sort of stopping our forward progress a little bit. It was stunting us a little bit, and it's to be expected. Hall's played like 5 seconds worth of footy all week, all year or whatever. But
mm.
if that's going to continue, it needs to be worked on, I would say. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
look, it was nice to see the fullbacks. It was nice to see Dan Burn in the middle. I think I've gone full circle, and now I'm very much a Dan Burn in the centre, please. He had another terrific game. If it wasn't for him, God knows what the score was like at half time.
mm.
Um, and the rest of the team sort of picks itself, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it does. I guess it's kind of strange, especially with Harvey Barnes too. Like he's performed really well when he's come on as a sub, but just hasn't hit the same when he's been a starter. So I think Eddie kind of went back to him having that impact sub, and with Wilson coming on as well. Like my mind straight away goes back to the first game of the season against Aston Villa when they both come on as substitutes and made a huge impact. So I was kind of happy to see him as a sub, not to see him drop, but knowing that we have that ability to bring on a really impactful player later on if we needed it, and it turns out it worked again. But game didn't start off too well. The visitors scored within 5 minutes, and we
Shambles.
kind of carried our form or lack of form from the Palace game midweek into this one, and it I know it was a very sloppy goal, and I don't know what had happened, and I don't think Eddie knew what happened either. He was pretty how would I say, he was pretty firm after the game with it wasn't acceptable that first half, and if you kind of read some of the player quotes and things like that, I think he kind of read in the riot act at half time and sort of shook him into life, and we come out with a much better second half. But that first goal was the first warning sign, and if it wasn't for Dan Burn, Lee, we could have been 3 or 4 down in the first
Yeah,
half.
yeah, and there's a lot of last ditch tackles, wasn't it? Lots of little blocks and
Yeah,
what have you from Dan Burn. It was that first goal. There was like four Sheffield players in front of our keeper when that ball was coming across. I assume that we tried to play a line. Dan Burn went down on his arse. I don't even. They didn't even talk about that in the commentary, so I'm honestly not even sure what the hell happened there. But four people running on Dubravka, he nuts it in. It's a 5 minutes in. It's such a shit goal. I'm sorry, but it's such a terrible, terrible goal to concede it's not like they had to work very hard. They just lobbed it to the far corner. It was
Mm.
even if Dubravka had somehow got his hands to it, like I say, there's three other blokes waiting to just tap it in. It was just wrong from top to bottom. But I will say, credit to Sheffield United. I mean, they were probably they weren't technically, but they were more or less done as far as relegation's concerned. It's obviously being confirmed now on the back of this result, but they didn't come out like that. They came out with something. Well, they came out with something to show, to something to prove, to maybe give the fans a little bit of hope for next season, perhaps. Maybe even snatch a result. I mean, they came within a whisker against Man United after all. Um,
Mm.
and you have to say, we've said I don't know how many times, but like even the worst team in the league, all they've got to do is run at us fast, and we just shit
Yeah.
ourselves every time. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
The amount of times in the chat, Craig and I were watching it and we're talking to each other, and we're like, we just got to wake up here. This is like we haven't even started. Everyone looked knackered. Everyone looked off their levels. Gordon didn't look like he had any kind of real pace in him. Bruno was kind of all over the place. Isak was coming left. He was going deep. He was trying to get on the end of things. It was just a bloody mess. And credit to Sheffield for making us flap. Really,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, the one time that the big dog did actually get on the end of one was a beautiful pass by Jacob
Oh,
Murphy, and once he was through, you can almost put your glasses down. There was no other option that was going in, and the keeper wasn't touching it. So
yeah.
that was the seventh consecutive time he scored at home this season, which puts him third, believe it or not, in the all-time consecutive scoring at home. Andy Cole's had 8, which seems a lot. And then you look at the leader, and it's Alan Shearer, and he's got 15. So 7,
It
he's not
was.
quite halfway to the record yet, which is frightening.
Well, he's
So
got one more
that
chance
was the
to.
one, yeah, that was kind of the one, I guess, bright spark for the whole half. We didn't really look like creating anything. And like you said, we were flat as a pancake for 45 minutes. And credit to Sheffield as well. Like, the way they played made us play like that. And I'm big on, you can point fingers at your own team, but you've actually got to tip your hat to the opposition sometimes for forcing you into playing as bad
No,
as you do. So
absolutely, mate.
yeah,
That
halftime
ball, by,
calm
by,
and
by the way, mate, that ball from Murphy, like I say, was absolutely incredible. Like you don't know what you're going to get with Murphy half the time. Like he's going to just kind of do
yeah,
absolute crap, or he's going to do some amazing, insightful passes. That one was perfect, right in front of Isak, and it's done at that point, isn't it? Oh, it's
didn't break
just amazing
stride.
ball,
Yeah,
amazing ball,
he timed that run perfectly as well. So
as
if he
always.
holds on for probably half a second quick, he's probably offside and
I
the
think he
goal
ran
doesn't stand. But
behind. He ran behind it, didn't
yeah,
he? And
yeah,
then
he did. Yeah,
tucked
yeah,
in, didn't he?
it
And then
was
came
such
out
a
again.
clever run. But even like you said there with Murphy Lee, like I think not just our away form, but our home form's been a bit inconsistent as well. Like we haven't put many games of 90 minutes like we did last season as well. But when you factor in the players who are playing, like I don't get bogged down in everyone who's missed games and things like that. But when you think of guys like Dubravka and Hall and Emil Kraft and Elliot Anderson, Murphy as well. Shah was obviously injured early on and tried to carry on and couldn't continue after halftime. Longstaff's been carrying an ankle for God knows how long. It feels like nearly the whole season. These inconsistent players are going to give you inconsistent performances. Like that. That's what happens with these players. So it's kind of, when you think about it, it's actually remarkable that we're seventh.
Miracle.
And yeah, like it's crazy that we've played so much of the season with these players who they're good enough at the level. Like let's not demoralize them like that. But they're kind of not the players that are going to get us where we need to get to. And that's no fault of their own. Everyone's got their limitations. But the fact that we're seventh and we're clear in seventh is frightening with these players that we've had play a lot of the season.
It's absolutely remarkable, and you have to give credit to Eddie Howe. You have to give credit to all the backroom staff. There's been times this season when you just went, oh well, let's just finish the season because we've gone to dog shit and we're not going to get any better. And then by hook or crook, we've actually managed to turn it around a bit more, and now we're starting to put results together. Obviously, Palace was a bit of a bump there. We've managed to get away with it against Sheffield. Um, we are still pulling out results. There is still something to play for, which is just incredible. 4 games to
Oh,
go,
there's
is it?
so much to play for with 4 games to go. Yeah, absolutely.
Mental.
Like,
How can when you think about the hardship that we've faced in the 14 players injured and all that kind of business. Like, Amazon missed or Prime, whoever it was, missed a trick. They should have done it about this season. Should have done the whole thing about this
Yeah,
season with all the injuries and all the fighting against adversity and all that kind of stuff that Hollywood loves so much. Nobody would
yeah,
believe it. Nobody would actually
no.
sit there and go, "This is impossible. This is bullshit."
God, they're really stretching the imagination now with this sort of stuff. So,
Exactly right.
with with that, and you mentioned the 14 players as well, and it's easy to look at, oh, we've got so many players out. Like that's the easy thing to look at, and there's another, I guess, a knock-on effect that I never thought of, and I don't know why I've never thought of this because it's really obvious. But Eddie mentioned it after the Crystal Palace game. Is the training. So we had Ryan Scott on our United series, the goalkeeper for the Newcastle Jets here in the A League. And if you haven't listened to that, go back and have a listen. Fantastic insights into the sports science and things like that. And I've got no doubt the sports science team in a Premier League club is far superior to what it is in our domestic competition here in Australia. And the data they have and everything like that. But the fact is, with so many blokes injuredly, you can't train properly because you don't have enough blokes actually on the paddock to train. So the guys that do train will train as good as they can, but they're actually limited with what they can do because of the availability of guys on the training pitch. And that'd be a huge. And everyone's like, oh, we can't wait to go back to a game a week, and Eddie can prepare the team like he did last year and everything like that, which is true. But with the team where it is now and the squad where it is now, we don't actually have the players who can get out there and like for every drill you need to do, you need defenders in it. Like we don't have enough to fill probably at the training pitch. Like the academy guys are probably training with the first teamers just to make up numbers. Now it might be good for their development, but in terms of us practicing what we need to practice, it's not ideal against really inferior opposition when you do it.
No, exactly. And, you're not going to get the right performances. You're not going to have the right tactics. As you say, you're not going to have the right setup. You're going to have to just wing it. I imagine at some point you're just kind of winging it. And then you get all the shit coming out on socials and everything else saying people, oh, why didn't we do this? And Eddie Howe's lost it. And yes, the results haven't been great, but look at the reasons why. We're too easy to judge. And I've done it as well. Like, we all do it. We all get the shits when it's going against us, but context is always important. And
Mm.
this season, above all other seasons, probably in the last few years, this one's been the one where we just have to sort of sit back and go, Jesus Christ! Like if I was doing Eddie Howe's job, I'd probably be swinging from a rope halfway through the season because of all the
Oh,
because
come on.
every time he was getting somewhere, someone else was going down injured. He would bring people on, they would get instantly injured, and have to sub them off straight away.
Mm.
People come back from injuries and then get injured again because
Or someone else gets injured, and then your actually injury list hasn't reduced or anything. You've just got someone different on there.
and these are all the things that a professional manager's got to deal with, and all the backroom staff and everything else. And it's very easy for the fans to just see the results and get on their back. But as you say, the hardships that we've had to fight through this season are ridiculous, and it's full credit to everybody at Newcastle that we are still somehow fighting for potential European position in seventh. I mean, just amazing, absolutely
Yeah,
amazing.
incredible.
It's better than
So
being relegated. Put it that way. It's better than fighting relegation. I'd rather it this way round than the other.
yeah, it's crazy though. Like I no doubt you remember these times as well. Like every morning or every night when you're watching the game, you'd always be flicking on like your phone to see what the scores for the other games were and stuff like that, and who's dropped points and stuff like that. And we all thought, oh, thank God we don't have to do that anymore. Like we're not going to be down that end of the table. But it's just as bad now when it comes like last year was the Champions League and this year's Europe. Like you're just as invested in the teams around your scores and what you are in your own game.
No, you'll always be like that. But obviously, the relegation side of it is the whole perilous side of things, isn't it? It's a lot easier this way around, where you're just hoping someone slips and you take their position in the last kind of European slot. It's much worse when you're thinking, shit, I hope that team loses or whatever, so that we don't
Yeah,
go into the relegation position.
yeah, especially for us too. Like, do we have to buy another beIN subscription to watch the championship now because it's not on Optus and things like
Cancelled
that?
that the moment we went out. I was like,
Yeah,
bosh, cancelled.
see Optus. Hello, beIN, welcome. So we'll get to the second half. Well, Eddie's giving him a fair old cook by the sound of it at half time and shaking him back into life. So Bruno come out, no doubt. Maybe he was a bit overwhelmed. He did mention he was nearly crying before the
Oh,
game
really?
with the War Flags display, and him and Joe really were grateful and thankful, but kind of went a little bit too far. I think they got a bit emotional about it and things like that. Maybe that affected his first half, but he'd come out after half time and maybe had a Kinder Surprise in the break and made himself feel better. But it was a great ball in by Gordon to the far post, and he's openly admitted, Bruno, that heading's not a strength of his, but it was a great finish and put us 2-1 up and kind of got the monkey off the back a bit, didn't it?
Oh, I did, and we needed that as well. We just needed to get our noses in front. I actually thought Sheffield were starting to run out of either ideas or energy, or perhaps both. Even in the first half, around about the 35th minute ish, you could sort of see that the whole forward attacking intention had sort of cooled
Mm,
down a bit, and they were getting a little
yeah,
bit more withdrawn. And I didn't see the second half live. I was like, I'm not watching this. I'm not going to watch us get beat at 1 o'clock in the morning. I've got to get up at 6. I'm not doing this. Um, but I watched it back afterwards. And you could see that Sheffield kind of maintained that sort of mindset in the second half, which allowed us to do what we want to do without worrying about them flinging past us all the time at every
yeah.
single opportunity. But yeah, no, lovely header from Bruno. It was a bit of a. Do you think that was a bit of a muted celebration? Because he kind of like just jogs a bit to the corner flag, stands there. He doesn't. He
Mm,
just holds up a flag, and
yeah, I
he's
didn't
not.
mind
He's
it. It
not.
was a bit
He's
of
not
Tino
jumping and
Spiller
diving.
about it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know if it was the opposition. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it was a big goal in the context of the game and kind of
Massive.
in context of the season as well. Like, keeps us in that seventh spot and things like that, and kind of made them have the feeling that, okay, we're behind now. We're actually going to have to come out and play a little bit more and be a bit more aggressive and try and score again. So it did mean a lot. So yeah, you're probably right. Like, the celebration didn't match I guess the level of
The
goal that it
magnitude.
was
Yeah.
and things of game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just after that, the big dog puts his 19th through a penalty. It was another great penalty and another
Yeah.
untouched another untouched goal from a defender or keeper from Alexander Isak, which is absolutely remarkable, his finishing skills. I'm with Jack on this, Lee. I don't know about you, but Anthony Gordon was brought down in the area. For me, that should be an assist, credited with an assist for Anthony Gordon, which would pull him what over the 10 assist mark. I think he's probably earned us 4 or 5 penalties this
Isn't that
season
just
alone.
isn't that just because Jack's got some kind of bet on that he's going to get 10 assists?
Yeah, that was his prediction, but I don't have any dog in the fight. I just think that you should be actually credited with an
Well,
assist if you earn the penalty yourself.
yeah. I mean, why not? I guess it wouldn't be a penalty otherwise. But it was nice to see Golden picking up his pace a little bit. He kind of woke up a little
Mm,
bit in the second half, and because he's down the left, he's suddenly finding that space. So he's able to run in and cut inside that he likes to do. He's talked about in that interview with Gary Neville. He likes doing that sort of thing. He likes
yeah,
mixing it up as well, so people don't know if he's going to do that or not.
yeah,
Um, it, that penalty though, I don't know. It was a funny one because when you watched it, didn't to me look like an actual. I've brought you down on purpose. Like the intent didn't seem to be. It looked a bit like a just coming together of feet, of legs.
yeah,
A bit like the one that they didn't get later on in the second
yeah.
half.
Which I think was the right decision as well. I
It
think,
was. It was a lovely bit of
yeah,
defending, but so I don't know. And there was obviously like the initial contact was outside the box, and then it continues inside the box, all that business.
yeah.
But it just looked like a
We're
coming together of
we're all well
legs.
too aware of that rule now. So,
Exactly. But do you know what I mean? Though? Did it not just look to
yeah,
you
yeah,
like it
yeah.
was just a
No,
didn't
I thought it
seem
was a
like a
foul. Yeah, I thought it was a foul, and I thought on for their one that got overturned, I thought it was a foul as well. And then once I seen in live real time, I thought, oh shit, that's a pen. And then when I watched it again, I'm like, oh, no way, like that can't be a penalty. But you never
yeah.
think it's gonna get overturned. They always go, it's not given, and then it ends up getting given. There's not many that go back the other way.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I suppose one was like a good bit of defending action from young Alex Murphy,
Yeah,
and the other
yeah,
one was more like a just a clumsiness. But I
yeah.
think that
It did
was
have it. Yeah, that's a good word actually. Clumsiness.
it seemed just a little bit on the harsh side. But I'm often kind of a bit on the fence with these type of incidental contacts. You see them
Yeah,
given, you see them not given. It was a difficult one, but Isak just waits for the keeper to move a little bit too far to his right hand side. I don't know what the hell he was thinking.
It
He
was
just
like a
goes,
little,
"Oh,
it was
cheers, I'll
like
go
a
wait
little
for him."
Mexican standoff, wasn't it? They were just looking at each other, going, "Oh, you're gonna move, you're gonna move," and he went, "Oh, you blinked," and then he put it right, and the keeper just, it was weird. He kind of dove after the ball had gone in to make it look like he'd actually made an effort, but.
Yeah.
So there, 3-1. We're cruising now, and for me, the next one was the goal of the day, Lee, the
Oh,
own goal from
sign them all.
Ben Osborne. What a cracking finish! The back heel, the no look back heel in the Euro net, and like the big, like after it was absolutely
Yeah.
magic as well.
Poor bastard. You just know that you're not getting anywhere when you have shit like that happening. But
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, he was obviously crowded. Gordon was, I think, in front of him trying to. Was it Gordon or Bruno? Somebody was in front of him trying to get a touch on the ball. I think, as I said to you just before we came on here, I think he probably got his sense of position slightly wrong. I
yeah,
think
yeah. I
he
think he
probably
thought
thought
he was further out. He thought he was more outside the post than what he actually
probably close.
was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's otherwise. I mean, otherwise that would have been a nice bit of defending. The
Yeah,
problem
yeah,
is,
yeah. Just back
the
heel
problem
out
is
for a
he's about
corner.
two
We'll go
meters.
again. He's gone, oh
He's probably
shit.
2 meters,
Yeah.
too close to the
I'll
goal.
take. How have
Poor
I ended
bastard.
up a meter and a half more right than where I thought I was? When have I
It
taken
was a
these three
lovely flick, mind
steps?
you.
Yeah, oh
Lovely little
yeah,
flick. Keeper had no chance
yeah.
whatsoever.
Beautiful.
Beautiful finish. Yeah, very happy for that one. But I mean, you feel bad for the poor players. So bad.
You do, especially with them in their position and things like that. And when
Oh,
it's not your
that's
day, your
basically
week, your month,
that's
or
it,
your
isn't it?
year.
It's like, oh well, that's
Yeah,
it. I've just relegated us then.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
just
It's
I've just
no
sent the
worse
whole club down.
feeling. Yes, there's
It's
a
like it's
100
awful.
mil down the gurgler.
Yeah.
Then after that, we've seen the introduction of Callum Wilson again and Harvey Barnes, and I know a lot of people have got their doubts about Callum Wilson's fitness, but I thought at this stage, returning from injury, I was a little bit more confident than what I have been in the past because his injury wasn't a lower body injury, it was a pec, so he should have had plenty of running under his legs before he actually come back, and he should be of a reasonable fitness as well. So I didn't have any doubts. I don't know about you, Lee. I actually thought Harvey Barnes met that pass that ended up out to Callum Wilson as well. At first,
Oh, same.
first viewing, I thought, geez, he's just scooped that beautifully out to
I
him. And
thought you,
then,
I thought you did. Did you not?
no, I think it took a touch
Oh,
on
did
the
it?
way through. Yeah, I think it
Oh,
did.
well,
Oh,
I'm the same
mate,
as you.
it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was took a touch, and I'd kind of after the fourth own goal went in, I'd kind of checked out a bit. It was half twittering, half watching at the same time, and things like that. But I thought it took a touch. Yeah, if it didn't, well, fantastic. My instincts were correct as well. But
Oh, I don't know. Don't listen to me.
yeah,
But
that
I tell you what,
was
if anyone doubts Wilson's fitness, you kind of doubt his ability to finish because
oh no,
that was a fantastic finish.
great
Like,
finish, and
if it wasn't for that back heel, that probably would have been my favourite finish of the
yeah,
day. Because he hits it on the half volley. He's coming across.
yeah,
He's got the aim on the other side of the goal. He's
far
just come
corner,
back from
yeah,
injury. Just come back from injury. He's been on for 5 seconds.
yeah,
And just absolutely nails it into the far corner. No saving
yeah.
that. It was a lovely, lovely goal. And
So
nice to see him
yeah,
back.
that it is, and a 46 goal, a Premier League goal for Callum Wilson as well, which sees him tie the club for most Premier League goals behind Peter Beardsley. So if he scores one more goal this season, he'll be outright second, which is a fantastic result. And whatever happens to him in the summer happens, but you can't. I know he's been injured, but you can't deny the player that he's been for us. And up until probably 6 months ago, he's probably our second best striker since Alan
He's,
Shearer.
he, he-
Or probably our
if he,
best striker since Alan Shearer, but
yeah,
unfortunately for him, there's a
he's
six
another
foot
one.
four Swede who's taking the piss, so he
Wait,
might be relegated to third pretty quick.
so how many goals has Wilson scored? Sorry.
He scored 46 in the Premier League for us
So how
since
many
since he
Isak got
arrived.
then? He's got no.
He's
How
got
many's he got
19 this year.
Are they all Premier League though?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. It's a Premier League Golden Boot. So he's on
Oh,
19, and
that's right. Yeah.
Haaland and Palmer are on 20. So
No, that's right. Of course.
he's
Yeah.
one behind them, which is that's another crazy stat in itself. That and I hope like I'll regret saying this, but Haaland looks like he's sort of shit the bed a little bit. So and Palmer only scores penalties. So it is his for the taking if he's good enough. If he's good enough.
He
So
is good enough, mate. He is good
yeah,
enough.
he's.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
I'll never get sick of watching him play.
if Wilson's third and nearly second or something, whatever you said, then Isak probably will just take over next year
Could be
anyway.
next year.
Yeah, just like, yeah, no, thanks, that's mine.
Thanks, mate.
He's absolutely
Yeah,
terrific.
we're so lucky to have him. So,
I know.
yeah, final whistle. Like we've already touched on the VAR sort of pen overturn. The final whistle sees the 5-1 victory and the 13-1 aggregate over the course of the two games this season, league, which is the largest in Premier
Mad.
League history
Yeah.
between two clubs, which is crazy when you consider like us and like when you've had Liverpool with their 8 goals and Man United have scored 8 goals, Man City, you just sometimes it's crazy to think that we hold that record now when these teams around us are a lot more financially resourceful and powerful and more depth and everything like that. But we've got it. So kudos to us. And it's also the game see us scored our most goals in Premier League history as well, Lee. So we've still got
Mm.
4 games to go. Are we the new entertainers, do you think?
Well, someone was asking about that recently, weren't they, on the TV? It's
Yeah.
been mentioned a few times now. I don't know. Not for that first half, sending it go by. Jesus Christ, it was terrible. But are you entertained? Are you
I am.
entertained? Um,
I don't think we play any boring game. Our games are must see TV. You know, there's going to be goals. Like they might not
yeah,
be us, but there's going to be goals.
yeah, kind of. I mean, I think Spurs is probably a little bit better in that category of there's going to be goals, but it might not be us. I don't know. It's hard to be entertained this season given how many bloody injuries that we've had. But then we've had beaten PSG, which was just a memory that we'll all keep with us for a long, long
Mm.
time because of the whole narrative behind it and where we were and development and so on in the opposition. Uh, and we've destroyed Spurs, we've destroyed Sheffield 8-0.
Villa
It's not like
twice.
there hasn't been a shortage of entertainment from this club, from this team this season by any stretch. It's been, and it's not done yet. Talking like it's finished, but it's not. Still got 4 games to go. Anything can happen.
Yeah,
We can still make
which is
Europe.
crazy.
We can still make the lesser Europe, which is probably better for us where we are right now, particularly with the squad and the
I think
injuries and
so.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that's a chance for us, probably a more realistic chance to win something in Europe. But
Yeah.
it's just, it's still slightly inconsistent. Our away form has been god awful this season. God awful. We've won like 4 times, I think, or something. It's terrible. It has to get better next season.
Well,
And
it's
then
got to
obviously
get
we've got
better in the next 4 games because we've got 4 games left and 3 of them are away.
3 of them
So
at home.
if we
Yeah,
do
3
want
away.
to get into Europe, we're going to have to pick up 1 or 2 wins. We're going to have to pick up points away from home.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. So we've got four games to fix our away form up. Otherwise, there's every chance we won't be in Europe next season.
And they're not going to be easy because you've got Man United who are still in the same. They're basically in the same boat as us, trying to win
Yeah,
their way into Europe. You got, I think, Burnley, have we? Who are
Burnley is still
fighting for their
fighting for their
lives.
lives as well.
Who
And
else?
Brentford away on the last day, which it's the last day. Crazy shit happens on the last day. There's some always wacky and crazy results. So,
Yeah, exactly. So it's not going
um,
to be easy by any stretch.
no. And Brighton, we've got them at home now. They're always been
They're
a
gone.
tricky opponent for us. So they do
They're
seem
gone.
like they've dropped off a little bit and things like that. But like we said earlier, it's a remarkable effort to be where we are after 34 games and clear in 7th place with a huge opportunity to get into Europe. And I absolutely agree with what you said, mate. I think Europa League or even a Conference League, it almost gives us a really good chance of winning a trophy. I've got no doubt. Even if we had have finished third in our Champions League group, I thought at the time that we could give Europa a serious shake.
Mm.
There's no chance we would have been
It wouldn't
a
just affect the
contender.
league. Nah. Yeah.
Yeah, with our injury list and things like that, we couldn't be sustainable. But next year, hopefully with a full squad of available players and a midfield that might see Sandro Tonali come back and Joe Willett come back, Joel Linton come back, which is a lot different to having Elliot Anderson and Sean Longstaff in there and no
Sure.
disrespect. And Lewis Miley as well will be better and he'll be able to be used more in games and not have to have that fatigue and everything like that as well. And he could be a really important player for us next
No,
season
absolutely.
too. So there
Absolutely.
is there is a huge chance that we can really make an impact in one of these sort of lesser European competitions next
And
year.
what I'll also say as well is just also, it might give us a more realistic chance of winning something. But it's also about getting experience in Europe.
Yeah,
You know, we had the craziness of the Champions League and everything that came with it,
but the opponents too. Like two
and
of
the
our
opponents.
group are in the semi-finals. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
ridiculous.
and that's experience, obviously, but it's a very harsh lesson to have to learn
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you don't really think that you're ready for it.
It's sink or
Um,
swim.
a slightly easier opposition. There's never any easy games, I don't suppose, but nonetheless, you would imagine the opposition would be slightly easier in the lesser of the European competitions. That should allow us to get a bit more experience of how to go in. Because I was saying on the chat, nobody in our setup really has that much in the way of any European experience, like from the
Yeah,
manager
well, I
down up
said that at
above.
the end of last season that someone with Champions League experience was a must to come into our team, and the club went out and did that, but unfortunately, he only played a couple of games, so that didn't quite
Yeah,
work out as
yeah,
how they thought it was going to work out. But yeah, you're right, and I think if we do get that European spot, we'll be much better for it than what we were this year. We'll be better prepared, not just in Europe, but we'll know how to manage, the next game in 3 days in the league and back into Europe and travel and all that sort of stuff. So I think we'll be much better prepared. And like you said, the opposition won't be as fierce and as big as what they were with AC Milan, Dortmund, and PSG. And
yeah.
like I said, two of them are in the last four. So we said it was a group of death at the time, but I think it's really shone through that it really was the group of death. And the fact that we beat one of the semi-finalists 4-1
And
can't
got
be
screwed.
underestimated.
We got friggin' screwed with that
We should have
penalty
beat them
decision.
twice. Yeah,
I'm not having it. That was bullshit. That was a
yeah,
setup.
yeah. The fix was in.
Fix was in.
Um, that might do us, mate. Just before we wrap this up, we're less than a month now, Lee. That the famous black and white are coming to our fabulous city as well, the sporting capital of the world. And I won't hear you or Lee. Oh, you or Lee. You are Lee. You or Jack or anyone else give me otherwise. It is the sporting capital. Less than a month to go. I think tickets are still on sale. If you are coming or you do live in Victoria, please jump on the Aussie Mags Facebook page and Instagram page. They have all the details for all the pre-game meetups for the Tottenham game at the MCG and the A-League All-Stars game at Marvel Stadium on the Friday night. They have the locations, the times, everything like that. If you want to come for a beer, trust me, I've been to a couple of meetups here in Melbourne and went there not really knowing anyone, and it's amazing how quickly you gel and talk to people and you make friends like that because you're all there and you've all got a common reason to talk and things like that. So it's absolutely fantastic, and you'll make hundreds of new friends when you get there. And if you haven't got a ticket, get to the game as well. But jump on Aussie Mags. They'll have all your pre-game stuff sorted, and hopefully we can get some more information from the club in the next few weeks regarding if there's going to be an open training session or anything for the fans over the course of the week in Melbourne as well. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. And if there is anything, Aussie Mags will be all over that as well. So jump on there for your updates. Lee, thank you for jumping on tonight, mate. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll be
Thanks, mate.
back probably at the end of the week sometime for our Burnley preview. And then I think, stay tuned, we've got a huge guest lined up for our next United Series episode as well. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled for that. Hopefully that'll land sometime next week. So that might do us for tonight, Lee. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Keegs, mate. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we'll catch you soon.